Retail after dark is different. The crowds are gone, the noise fades. And sometimes, you see things you can't explain. These are their stories.
I used to work at a big box retail store, the kind with 20-foot shelves and endless fluorescent lights.
Night shifts were dull, except for inventory. That's when the store felt like a labyrinth.
One night, around 2 a.m., I was assigned to restock aisle 7, seasonal decorations.
Halloween had just ended, so the shelves were half empty. I was alone in that section, with only the faint beeping of forklifts in the distance.
I was scanning a box of clearance candles when I saw movement at the far end of the aisle.
A man, tall and thin, just standing there. He wore a gray hoodie with the hood up. I thought maybe he was a lost customer, rare but not impossible at that hour.
"Sir, excuse me, we're closed."
He didn't answer. He just tilted his head slowly, like he was trying to understand me.
I started walking toward him, but halfway there, I blinked, and he was gone.
I rounded the corner thinking maybe he ducked into the next aisle. Empty. A chill rolled down my spine. I went back to my cart, but every step felt heavier. I kept glancing over my shoulder. That's when I noticed the candles I'd just stocked. Every single one now faced backward, labels against the wall. I hadn't done that. Then, from the far end, I heard the sound of something dragging along the floor. Not footsteps, more like fabric scraping concrete. The sound grew closer. I left my cart and walked fast toward the break room, refusing to look back. When I swiped my badge and stepped inside, my manager was there, frowning.
Why'd you leave your cart in the middle of the aisle?
I thought I saw someone, or something.
Aisle 7's camera has been out for weeks. Nobody should have been there.
I never volunteered for that aisle again.
I work at this small bookstore that my uncle's friend opened at a strip mall near 301, right before it splits from Crane Highway. We close at 9 p.m., but one night in November last year, my coworker called out, so I was alone for the last hour. The strip mall had already gone quiet. Most shops had their lights off except us and the 24-hour gym next door. At 8:45, I heard the door chime. Ready with my polite, "We close soon," but no one was there. The door was shut. I stepped out from behind the counter, scanning the aisles, thinking maybe someone slipped in fast. The store was silent, except for the faint hum of the overhead lights. I checked each row, romance, mystery, history, but saw no one. When I got to the children's section in the back, I froze. A single book was lying open in the middle of the carpet. It was Grimm's Fairy Tales. I hadn't shelved it there. I picked it up, and the page it was open to was the story of the youth who went forth to learn what fear was. My skin prickled. I put the book back and decided to lock the front door early. But when I returned to the counter, the register drawer was wide open. I never heard it click. Then came the whisper. Not words, just the sound of someone's breath right in my ear. I spun around, but I was alone. My hands were shaking as I shut off the lights, leaving only the glow from the exit sign. That's when I saw it. A shape darker than the shadows stood between the shelves. It didn't move, didn't speak, but I could feel it watching me. I didn't wait. I grabbed my bag, shoved the drawer closed, and bolted out into the cold night air. I've worked plenty of closing shifts since then. But I don't go into the children's section after 8:30 anymore.
I was 20 at the time, working part-time at a video game store in Waldorf.
Midnight launches were usually my favorite shifts, lines of excited customers, the energy buzzing in the air. But that night, I don't like thinking about it. We had about 30 people waiting outside, chatting and laughing. The store smelled faintly of coffee and those new game cases we'd just unboxed.
My manager had gone back to count inventory, leaving me at the register to prep.
That's when I noticed him, standing at the far corner of the store in the shadows near the strategy guide rack. He hadn't been in line, I would have seen him. He wasn't browsing either, just standing, head slightly down, like he was listening to something I couldn't hear.
Hey, we're closed until midnight. The line is outside. I told myself maybe he was a friend of my manager's, and I went back to sorting receipts.
But then, in the reflection of the display case glass, I saw him raise his head. His face, I don't even know how to describe it. Pale, eyes too wide, like he'd been staring at something for hours without blinking. I turned around to say something, but he was gone. Just gone. No sound, no footsteps. I walked over, my heart pounding, but the corner was empty.
A couple of minutes later, the door buzzer went off, the one that sounds when someone comes in.
The customers outside started murmuring, saying someone had just walked past them into the store, but the door hadn't even opened. My manager came out front confused and asked what was going on. I tried to explain, but before I could finish, the lights above the strategy guides flickered. Just those lights.
I swear, for half a second, I saw him again, standing exactly where he'd been before.
Only this time, he was smiling. It was not a friendly smile. It was a tight, knowing grin. Then the lights came back on. The corner was empty. My manager told me to get back to work, but I couldn't shake the feeling that if I looked over my shoulder, I'd see him watching me again.
It's been years, but even now, whenever I walk past that strip mall at night,
I can't help glancing at the windows. Part of me is terrified I'll see him standing there, and part of me is terrified I won't.
Night shifts end, lights turn off, but some customers, they don't leave when the store closes. Like and subscribe for more eerie tales.